Walking through the valley of death is certainly something. But when you're staring down the barrel of a gun, that could very well mean the end of your life. Things just seem all the more interesting, to say the least. To think, I honestly thought today of all days would be an actually okay kind of day. I never could have guessed how wrong I would be. I always had a healthy fear of mankind in general, but even more so now that the only one person I really thought I could trust is trying to kill me. How interesting. It's quite funny, really. A normal person would be terrified out of their minds at this moment, but not me. I'm confused more than anything. But afraid? No. I believe outraged is the word I'm looking for. It's cold. No, cold is an understatement. It's freezing. The sound of rain hitting the pavement around me seems to stop time, or perhaps it's my own heart beating in my ears slowly coming to a still. Whatever the case may be, I never would have expected to be standing here in the rain at 6 o'clock at night being threatened with a gun by the only person who ever gave me hope in humanity. And for what? Money? Respect? If only I had such a mindset to understand his deranged, twisted thoughts, maybe then, and only then, would I fully understand his actions. It was at that very moment that I realized not only had I been angry, but I was also a bit hungry as well. The first thought to come to mind was a box of Popeye's chicken. My mouth watered at this wonderful thought. However, I was a bit busy at the moment. I thought of the likelihood of me being able to convince him to rethink his decision. I knew he would be exceptionally difficult to convince, but I didn't know him well enough. He would listen to me, even if he didn't want to. I stared down my black-hooded threat blocking me from a Popeye's feast. You haven't said anything yet, Rick. Are you not surprised? Tell me, what's going on in that strange head of yours? Hearing him speak drew me back from my thoughts. His voice was very deep and raspy, and he seemed to have this twisted smile on his face. It felt as though his dark eyes stared straight into my soul. If I didn't know any better, I would have said he was the Grim Reaper himself, had he not had skin on his bones. Do you not have anything to say to me? You've had quite a lot to say to my girlfriend in the past few weeks. And now nothing? I'm rather disappointed, said the hooded figure. Girlfriend, I said, clueless to who he was referring to. It seemed to spark something in his voice. Don't act dumb with me. You know dang well who I'm talking about. I'm afraid I don't know who you're referring to. Michelle. That name. I remember now. Michelle was a thin-framed Korean woman with these eyes that seemed to hold the image of the earth beautifully in, and this jet-black hair that shined in the light like the moon on a starry night. Her face always reminded me of Julia Roberts. I had met her in the office at work at the World Trade Center downtown. She was working the entry desk, signing people in, when I caught sight of her. She was a very kind-hearted person, a true joy to be around. Her sense of humor was something else. She actually found my jokes funny. Michelle and I maybe had a conversation a few times, but that still didn't explain what would have brought this scene on. Actually, scratch that. I can see what kind of idea could be swimming through his head. Look, Tiny Tim, I started to say before I was cut off. Don't call me that. I ain't tiny no mo, said Tiny Tim. Okay, my mistake. I forgot. Tim, whatever it is you think may be going on between me and Michelle, I assure you it's strictly professional. Pumpernickel and cheese curds. Excuse me? You're a liar. And why exactly would I lie to you? You do have a gun drawn on me, after all. And clearly you're not in the best of moods, so why would I lie to you and risk making things all the more worse? I don't believe you. I don't think you're necessarily lying to me either. Look, I'd be more than happy to answer any further questions you may have, but for the moment, why don't we get some chicken? Chicken? Alright, let's get some chicken. I actually managed to convince him to put down the gun for a moment to get some chicken. Not that it surprised me none. He always did love chicken. I finally made my way into the building. People were looking at me quite odd-like. Some even looked nervous. The establishment was lovely. It was clean and smelled of chicken and Cajun fries. It was enough to make a grown man cry at its beauty. I ordered a 16-piece box of chicken with 6 biscuits and a small order of Cajun fries and a large root beer. Sitting at a table at Popeye's eating with someone who wanted me dead just mere minutes ago is certainly unheard of, but it bought me the time I needed to call the cops. Opening the box of chicken, I was hit with a wave of heat. The chicken was fresh and spicy as always, and tasted absolutely magnificent. It kept him quiet, of course, which even then the silence was a bit unsettling. As our Popeye's feast came to an end, blue and red lights flashed out front of the establishment. A small sigh of relief fell upon me, if only for a moment Tim didn't notice. He was too occupied shoving his face full of Cajun fries. Tim was always a bit unstable, but up till recently he had said the voices in his head had subsided. I knew that was a lie. I don't know what happened to Tim as a kid, but it had to have been something pretty traumatic to put him in such a deep depression that he developed schizophrenia. The cops busted in like a SWAT team, swarming the building like bees. Tim still had a chicken leg in his mouth when the cops threw him in the floor and cuffed him. Next thing I know, Tim's sitting in the back seat of a police car, going down the street. Even sitting in the back of a police car, he still felt invincible. He had a wicked smile on his face the whole time. One look into his eyes and you would know he was psychotic. I won't forget that Joker-like grin on his face anytime soon. Staring out of the window of the car, Tim looked pleased with himself, as if he wanted this all along. But now one problem remains. How am I going to tell my mom her only son is getting hauled off to an insane asylum?
Hello, darkness, my friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its ears while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone,